When you start learning web development, you usually encounter a diagram like this: a small laptop connected by a long wire to a massive blinking machine. This creates immediate confusion. When you build a web app locally on your computer, that second massive machine doesn't exist. The terms server and client do not describe the hardware, they describe software applications. Your browser is the client application. Tools like LiveServer or Node.js act as the server application. We only call giant computers servers because their hardware is dedicated to running server software 24/7. To talk to each other, these applications exchange data using HTTP. You can think of this exactly like exchanging formal letters. The client sends an HTTP request asking for a specific file, and the server replies with an HTTP response containing the data. To grasp web development, you must recognize that your own laptop is acting as both the sender and the receiver at the exact same time. For two local applications to communicate without an internet connection, your operating system uses a loopback network called Localhost. Visualize your entire computer as a main water pipeline with hundreds of small holes drilled into it called ports. Applications use these ports to collect or contribute data to the system. When you spin up a tool like LiveServer, it taps into port 5500. Your browser then goes directly to that specific port to make its HTTP request. If the browser asks for a file that exists, like index.html, the server pushes the data right through the pipe. If the browser requests a file that doesn't exist, the pipe blocks the request and returns a 404 status code indicating the path was not found. This combination of localhost and specific port numbers creates a complete isolated testing environment. You can build and break your code entirely inside one machine. Once your local code works, you might want to test how the layout looks on a mobile device. Both your laptop and your smartphone are connected to the same Wi-Fi network. Pause here for a second. If you open your phone's browser and type in localhost:5500, what happens? The request fails. Localhost is a loopback command. It tells a device to look exclusively inside its own internal pipeline. Your phone searches itself for a server on port 5500, finds nothing, and throws an error. To fix this, you need your laptop's local IP address. Let's say it's 192.168.1.6. When you type that into your phone, the Wi-Fi router knows exactly which device on the network holds the server and routes the request successfully. Local IP addresses expand your working environment. They let any device sharing your router test the application you are building. To share your work with someone outside your building, you need to expose your local server to the public internet. You can use a tunneling tool like ngrok to punch a secure hole through your router, connecting port 5500 to a temporary public URL. This setup has a critical limitation. If you close your laptop or turn off the tunnel, your website goes down. To keep an application available to the public 24/7, developers rent time on dedicated machines through cloud hosting platforms. Up to this point, the client has only asked the server for files, but robust web applications need to collect user data. We handle this using an HTML form and an HTTP post request. When the user fills out the form and hits submit, the browser packages that text into a post payload. It sends the data directly to a path on the Node.js server, which receives the payload and logs it to the backend console. A server does not simply hand out static documents. It receives incoming information, processes that data, and stores it. Let's trace the complete data journey. A user in another country clicks your public link. Their phone sends a GET request across the internet, through your tunnel, straight into port 5500 on your server application. Your server processes the request and sends the HTML form back. The user types their data into the client interface, triggers a post request, and the information flows all the way back to your backend. You can navigate all of this with 4 simple rules. 1. Clients and servers are just software communicating via HTTP. 2. Localhost tests everything inside a single machine. 3. Local IPs share the server with devices on your Wi-Fi. 4. Tunnels and cloud hosting open your server to the global internet. By learning how data moves from 2 isolated apps on one laptop out to the rest of the world, you gain the exact mechanics needed to build and deploy web applications with confidence.